Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I am your host, Michael Karvelis, and this is Daily Dive. It is February the 17th, 2026 on a Tuesday, and this show begins now. We appreciate you tuning in via North American Talk Radio on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel for other great shows and content and live sports. On today's awesome show, I'm going to start off with addressing Brett Frood's comments that he made on OTCB podcasts. Cannot wait to get to that. Then I'll give my top 4 MVP leaders. I know we already gave our midseason awards a week ago. How much have things changed? And we'll get to Fresh Fits, the best dressed broadcasters and players from this past weekend. We want to first let you know that there is NLL merchandise found at natalkradio.us/NLL. Head over there right now to check out all of the gear, all of the shirts and hoodies and player shirts, all of the Amazon shopping at natalkradio.us/NLL, one of the best ways to support this program. Fire Sawyer by Mimico Trike is back again. CLL commenting as well. So let's first get into Brett Frood's comments that he made via the OTCB podcast that is available on YouTube now. Just search up OTCB podcast. It's Teddy Jenner and Pat Gregoire most of the time, if not all the time, including some after dark stuff when the show doesn't get cut off midstream. This time it was just Teddy Jenner. But I want to first give credits to a couple of things here, and then we'll dive into the points that I enjoyed from this whole conversation. So I want to first say that Teddy Jenner and Pat getting Brett Frood on again is awesome. Thank you to them for doing that. And thank you to Brett Frood for going on the show. I think video format, even though this is also available in audio/podcast form, I think video is a great thing. It's easier for people like me to engage and just watch and enjoy it. And it was good the commissioner did it. I know that he's kind of not, media's not his thing. There was even a time where during the interview where Teddy Jenner asked Brett Frood, hey, would you consider going to the broadcast booth? And Brett's like, nah, I'm good. I also want to say that I am very happy that there didn't seem to be any questions that were off limits. Now, while Brett Frood was a little bit political with some comments, he was also very candid with a lot as well. And I know I want to first get to this in regards to the merchandise, because Teddy Jenner, remember, before the OTCB was on YouTube and before the season started, Brett Frood came on the show and talked about how the brick and mortar shops and the NLL teams, like in person would be a big thing, but there was going to be some umbrella merch store, like something where every fan could be, they could just from their home just click and get something. Well, Teddy Jenner says he hasn't seen it from the NLL. We know that the Amazon shop has soft launched. We know that it started off with just a few player shirts and a few shirts and hoodies. Now it's a plethora of player shirts, way more than there was before, like player name on the back and number, and the team on the front. And there's also unboxed stuff that has been on there. Obviously, they're building this up. So while the NLL has not talked about it, we've seen it. We've seen what it could be. I will have to say, I'll use this moment to say that I ordered a Georgia Swarm shirt. One of my buddies ordered it for me, actually, as a surprise. It's not great. And I don't want to do that to diminish this because it is a great idea. It is awesome they're doing it. I noticed the shirt that I got was made by Port Authority. There were other premium shirts on there that are made by different manufacturers because I have to wear a 6X in Port Authority, which is the highest it goes to. Full disclosure, I know this guy's fat. You knew that. So the Port Authority shirt was as ironed on as you could get. Now, I compare that to the shirt I've worn for months now. My other Georgia Swarm shirt from Fanatics, I forgot who made that, but it was better material with the logo. I'm not mad at the shirt I got. I just kind of see, because I noticed another comment on the Amazon reviews was, this is very cheaply made. I think the NLL knows that. And I think if I'm in shape and I go back down to 3X or even 2X, dare I say, that would be nice. Then I would be able to get some of the premium shirts. Because even some of the unboxed shirts, like the District Cherries, were one of the ones that came in pink and a sky blue. I can't get those. They only go up to 3X. I believe all hoodies go up to 3X. So I'm not complaining. It's there. And just because I'm fat does not mean they're poor quality. But the Port Authority version that goes up to 6X, yeah, it sucks. That being said, Brett Frood's comments here were awesome. He did say they ran into some issues. He was happy that the teams had the locations souped up. He also was happy that fans seemed kind of happy that fans had noticed the Amazon stuff. He said their transition has not been as ideal as they thought it would be. Now, I do want to give some advice to Brett Frood, and I can't believe I'm doing this. I don't care how much money anybody has. People that are not as high-end professional or not high-end business-like announce things before they're ready. One of the things I'll compare that to is an amateur sports podcast like myself, or this includes me like this year and years in the past, even though I've gotten better at it. You've also got local musicians or artists around your area. They will talk about things happening, and then as months go by and years go by, say, well, what about a thing you announced? Well, I ran into some issues. Here's the thing. Follow the idea of Hollywood. All right? And I mean movies. You never hear about official movie announcements until everything has been made, including a trailer. Everything's been finalized. You might get some leaks now and then, but you'll never see Steven Spielberg, and you'll never see, what's the other guy who's met Christopher Nolan. You never see great guys like that announcing things before they happen. I know it's easier as an NLL commissioner to do those things, but it seems like Brett Frood was excited and was happy as he should have been, and now it's like, well, it's not there yet. Teddy also asked him about if tariffs/politics is playing a role on why Canadians have not seen much of, if not all, the Amazon shop, and Brett said no. There's other issues into that. Now, I can attest to that because I talked to other, I'll call them not National Lacrosse Leagues. They are lacrosse leagues. And they have told me you can't just go in there and make a bunch of online merch because apparently the way the licensing in Canada and America is vastly different. I don't want to act like I know what I'm talking about there, but it's been broken down to me some in pieces. I'm like, okay, I take your word for it. Brett Frood seemed to be going that same direction. So I apologize to Amazon, to Canada. And yeah, I agree with this ultimately, which is why I held that comment there. But I did see that earlier, and you are correct. I think it's going to happen. I really do. Let's move on from merchandise, though. He talked about how he watches all of the games. And this, to me, was something that not just intrigued me because anybody can say they do, it intrigued me because he says he has to watch it as a fan and a commissioner. And Teddy also would ask him about the first time Brett Frood mentions in the interview / podcast, he asked Brett about the commissioner's play of the week or whatever it's called. And he's like, who's doing that? Is it always you? And that's when Brett starts saying it like one of at least a handful of times where he says, listen, I watch every game. On Sunday and Monday, I'm catching up on all the games. I'm rewinding things. I'm looking at the games. And I think that's awesome because Brett Frood said that he actually found himself looking at plays maybe that weren't being highlighted even by the broadcast team. And he was like, man, I love this. I'm writing my notes down anyways. He's got all these notebooks, he said. And he said he ran it by the social media crew. And of course they loved it because he's the commissioner. But I think it's been a great piece of content. And I love the fact that Brett Frood, that fan side comes out. Because I'm honest, I did not know why this was not a thing before the season. And he said, he's sitting there watching these games like, why don't I just do this? And so I love that he was very honest and very raw about saying that, because it was awesome to hear that, like week 5 or so, he sat there and was like, man, screw it. Social media team, what do you think? Good for him. I love that about that he said that. I also want to get to this. He talked about the broadcasting future. I forget which company it is. I didn't write it down. But the company that they did a press release, even though I thought it was a little bit weird to do that. But it was a press release of an organization that specializes in media and like sports league and media marketings or negotiations. So he was saying all of these negotiations, like after ESPN or maybe to extend ESPN, because we know the last thing we saw the NLL do was extend ESPN. I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of sucky. We've heard that other owners are really wanting that, and I think they're full of crap. But they have hired this organization, this world-class, I'm saying that because I want to remember what it's called, but they hire these people that go in there and they put a price tag on the league, on the product, and then they help the NLL sell that. Because Brett Frood was saying they can't do it all, obviously. And there are people out there that specialize, kind of like an agency, basically, in doing that. I love, again, the openness of what he said. He also mentioned about the relocation / expansion thing. So he said that he thought it was a success in Edmonton. I felt like there was times where he was throwing a little bit of shade my way. Maybe it was some of the actual haters, but he was saying like, it was a success. There was 7,000 people there. I watched the guy count the fans. I'm calling garbage on that because I know what we saw on Captain's Watch Party when we got him in Edmonton with a media pass. And I know the Bull is full of 10,000 people. I know it might have been 7,000. I'm not buying it. I also don't like, and I'll say it again, and I would love to have Brett Frood on it. I hope he sees this. I also don't like there was no merchandise there from anybody, from either of the teams. I think that did not look good. I think fans were pissed off that more local marketing was not done. I don't care who hosted the event. If it was OEG, if it was the Swarm, if it was the Roughnecks, if it was the NLL, all of that crap, fans were not happy with the marketing. So I could see why it might have been 5,000 and not 7,000. But that, again, we're nitpicking here, all right? But part of that was about the Philadelphia Wings. Just like before the season, he's not giving us much on this. He's telling us that, well, this is true. He mentioned how Wells Fargo, I believe, is the second busiest / most popular venue in North America, which is probably true, or at least top 5 for crying out loud. There's so much things going on there. He mentioned about, it's not just Philadelphia, even though it kind of is Philadelphia. And he also mentioned something that I had never thought about before, because Brett Frood, and I don't know who else made this decision, but he had to sign off, and it's under his watch, that we switch to unified standings. And part of that, I've been told numerous times, and I've said it on this show, is it is absolutely shafted teams in terms of finances. It is a ton of travel. Some cities you can't do a direct flight. And I think that is an issue. Now, he did say that it wasn't even one of the first 5 reasons he mentioned. But I like that he said if they're looking at another market, it would be a market, hopefully with direct flights to Vancouver, to Ontario. And I was like, that makes sense, because I think unified standings is an investment that they're willing to take the losses on. Even though people might be pissed off about it, I like that more so than other things like NLL Plus, all right? Now, that being said, he also mentioned about the mid-major markets. I know Halifax was brought up. He said those can be the core of the NLL. And I agree with that. I've said it before on the show. Now, again, for some reason, I still have not Googled if there's direct flights from Savannah Hilton International Airport to, Vancouver or Ontario. I'm guessing there's not. I don't know. There might be. My point is, I think Savannah actually is one that kind of fits the mold. Maybe Jacksonville in a way. I think if you put Barnes in places, because he kind of mentioned this a little bit, if you put teams in places where there's not a bunch of competition, and that includes concerts, that includes sports. I would say it's mostly sports. Now, you don't want every Taylor Swift and Bruno Mars and Justin Bieber concert to be at this arena as soon as they come to town, like it is in Atlanta. But I don't mind the idea. And I know, obviously, I say Savannah, there's not going to be 2 Georgia teams. I get that. But a Charlotte, or even, like I said, to a lesser extent, Jacksonville, I think those could work. And I'm not just saying these Southeast cities, there's cities out there that can work. And the way he laid it out was Savannah would actually be perfect, or Jacksonville would be perfect, because most huge artists and major sports just don't exist in those areas. And you want to see Jaguars, you're full of crap, okay? You want to see Savannah Bananas, they're not even here 90% of the time, all right? So my thing is, I love what he laid out, and it gave me confidence in some of these smaller markets that seem to be starving for things to do. Now, you could also argue with Rochester and Long Island and things like that, but he talked about how bad is traffic on Friday or Saturday nights. Now, if I'm being honest with you guys, Savannah checks out because Friday night traffic is disgusting. Saturday night's even worse. So I get that part of it. He talked about, is there transportation? We got a few buses. I don't know. But it was interesting hearing that stuff. One other thing I want to get to here is the replay system. Brett Frood did talk about, again, via OTCB podcast. Teddy Jenner was interviewing him. Pat Gregoire was probably busy. I'm not sure when the interview was. It was just a video that was uploaded. So the point is that Teddy asked him about the replay system. Brett was saying their old system was pretty much dog water, even though he didn't use that term. Him and Teddy kind of got a chuckle out of how bad the system used to be. Brett commended the referees for always wanting to get it right. He also said he thinks sometimes that contributes to the downfall. He says if you're a fan of the game and you're watching, it takes away from the flow. I've talked to other broadcasters, not just Pat. I talked to the broadcasters. It does kind of ruin even their flow and momentum, and they are part of the entertainment product. Brett Frood mentioned, because we've heard about a potential review clock. He said 90 seconds or 120 seconds, whatever it is, he said it's going to be a big discussion in the offseason. I like that. I thought overall the conversation again was very, very open and like / transparent, which probably means the same thing. It was very honest. It was very blunt. He gave a few political answers as he should as commissioner, and I expect him to do. I love this. And again, I love Teddy and Pat's show, but you guys know if a commissioner comes on there, I want to hear what you got to say. He said a lot of things, and I'm like, I know like they're supposed to tickle our ears, but it was, like I said, honest. And that's all I wanted was honesty. Could you, even if the questions were asked, could you take the heat of those questions and shout to Teddy and shout to Brett Frood for pulling this off? They call it the State of the Union. It pretty much was a mid-season State of the Union. So shout out to those guys and everyone who made that happen. And again, thank you, Brett Frood. All right, that's enough of that segment. When we come back to the show, I'm going to get to my top 4 MVP candidates. Let's just say a new player has entered the fold. You're watching Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. I know you won't.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for joining me here on this Tuesday, February 17, 2026. Once again, you are watching the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talks from the planet. This is Daily Dive. Hey, subscribe to the channel and follow us at Daily Dive LAX on Twitter /X and Instagram. We also dabble in TikTok at dailydive.lax, but you know, that app's a pain in the butt. It's hard to get popular on there. It's just, you gotta post 3 times a day. Daddy ain't got time, all right? You know what? I just realized there's only 4 games this weekend, but you want to go, right? Like you're going to the game, bam! Get your event tickets to any event, including NLL games, at natalkradio.com. And you're like, hey, whoa. I'm not just wearing a stupid t-shirt. You're right. You're wearing merchandise from the NLL, found at natalkradio.us/NLL. Appreciate you for your support, and you're welcome for helping you look good and save money. How we feeling? All right. It's time for my Week 12 award races. We go back down to just individual awards. Reminder, I knew I was going to close my phone and it looked stupid. Reminder, our midseason awards went as follows following week number 10. And I believe we skipped week 11. Who cares? All right, whatever. So we had MVP was Brett Dobson. Coach of the year was Ed Cuomo. General manager was Brad Self. Goalie of the year was Brett Dobson. Rookie of the Year was CJ Kirst. Offensive Player of the Year was Alex Simmons. And Defensive Player of the Year was Callum Jones. Sticking with just the MVP, let's get into it. My top 4, and here they are. We're going to go 4-1 because a new character has entered the fold for me. Number 4 is going to be Keegan Ball. And you're wondering why. Because Keegan Ball and the Warriors are 6-3. Keegan Ball has 20 goals, 43 assists, 26 of which are primary, and 48 loose balls. Now, while Curtis Dixon has stepped up, and while Christian Dobianco still has an 82 save percentage, I don't care. This guy has been the constant on this team. And I tried my best to put a Saskatchewan Rush player in there. I couldn't do it because Ryan Keenan is not pulling away from his teammates. Mike Messenger plays defense in transition. I went with Keegan Ball, the Vancouver Warriors. He has been the one constant on their offense. Jesse King's had flashes. Curtis Dixon's been nice. Keegan Ball, who knew he was still going to be their best player? Number 3, moving up a spot since we last did this ladder, Dylan Ward with an 8-2 record now. He also has an 82.4 save percentage and is almost at 400 saves. Now, the Ottawa Black Bears, guys, Jeff Teat was almost not on this list, but he helped the Black Bears go into Rochester and take down those pesky Nighthawks. Black Bears now have a 6-5 record, and currently the Ottawa Black Bears are 7th in the NLL standings, which means if the season ended today, Jeff Teat might win MVP. Oh, I lied. Because Brett Dobson is playing like Jesus Christ, but in between the pipes, all right? Brett Dobson is now at a 7-3 record, 415 saves, and guys, this is bonkers. 85.9 save percentage through 10 games. He is not getting worse. He is staying the same, if not getting better. It doesn't make sense. It seems unfair to the rest of the league. But Brett Dobson right now is almost a runaway for MVP. I could see Jeff Teat or others getting votes, but Brett Dobson, if the voters are serious, should run away with this award. It's a little bit close if Andrew Q keeps bowling out, if Jeff Teat keeps being great in the fourth quarter. I could see things closing the gap here, but if Brett Dobson keeps a save percentage of 84 or higher, and now it's almost at 86, he's the MVP, especially if Georgia makes the playoffs. Who is your MVP of the league right now? And if you're feeling extra feisty, can you give me your top 4? Comments below, or again, head over to Daily Dive LAX on social media and add us or just comment on one of the posts. We appreciate you for doing that. Also, I do try to keep the comments. Sometimes we have replay comments, which is kind of cool. So I know a lot of you guys cannot watch the show live. That's okay. Reminder, speaking of watching the show live, I do want to mention this before we head to our next segment here, that there are products tagged in YouTube videos. Ours right now, I've got a blow pop graphic t-shirt found at 80stees.com. That price is currently at $31 USD. They got a lot of vintage stuff. You click that link. We get credit for it. A Warrior Junior Evo War Complete Lacrosse stick. You know, it says it's out of stock. That's from Dick's Sporting Goods. And if you're trying to lose weight like I am, there's a Fitbit Inspire 3 health fitness tracker. If I don't say those things, YouTube is going to take them off. So that sucks. Ryan Ballantyne. Wow. Classic friend of the show here. Says Dobson was crazy good this weekend. It's funny Ballantyne mentions that. If you guys don't know who this guy is, I believe that's the guy who does the Calgary Roughnecks analysis with his buddy. I forgot your buddy's name up there in the play-by-play booth, but Ryan Ballantyne got to see Dobson firsthand in Calgary. And by the way, I believe those guys did a doubleheader because not only did Calgary team have a Saturday night, Sunday night game, how about the guys in the booth also do the same thing? So shout out to them, and thank you to Ryan Ballantyne coming on the show. He's a guy with a big red beard. But if you're a classic Daily Dive fan, you've seen that guy on the show. Great stuff there. All right, folks, when we come back, it's time for Fresh Fits. It's the best dressed players and broadcasters from week number 12 of the National Lacrosse League. Don't go anywhere. We both know you won't. It's Tuesday.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening. You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, that was my fault. I was hoping he'd stay long enough to comment that, and he did. Grant Farrell. Wow, what a name. I think it's Farrell, yeah. Erasure, how dare you. Yep, it's my fault. He's the play-by-play guy for the Roughnecks. It's funny because you don't get to see those guys a lot because every time there's a West Coast game on TSN, it's in Calgary, and then you got the national guys going over there. But Grant and Ryan do a good job there. So we appreciate them when they are available for our ears. And again, doubleheader this weekend. Are you kidding me? Welcome back to Daily Dive. The only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talks on the planet. It is Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. I mentioned earlier that Brett Frood, I asked him and others in the league to take advice from Hollywood, because when you announce things before they happen, it's kind of like bites in the butt. I almost announced what we were going to do today on yesterday's show, and I did not. And I'm very happy I did not. So we have postponed that announcement for next week. But I've learned, I've done it a few times on the show, oh, tomorrow we're having this player on the show, and something always comes up. So until that moment happens, be very careful. It's weird. It is wild how that works. Like, again, podcasts, like, oh, tomorrow we have this happening, it never happens. Or a music artist, I've done it before. I've released music, it's like, oh, an album's coming out, and then the album never came out. Like, come on. Be like the movie directors and don't give away your cards. Because also someone could snipe you on that too. Enough of that. Like, what? I'm not even rich right now. I'm giving people advice on how to grow their brand. Excuse me. Okay. Let's get to our fresh fits. If you guys know me, Pat Gregoire has been smoking the competition with the exception of Teddy Jenner and a couple other people. But this week, Pat Gregoire was close again, but he ain't good enough. So he did not win the broadcaster, but stay tuned for that. Here they are. We'll get the players first. There are 4 players to get to. And I just want to apologize to some teams that I did not get to today. I was trying to get to the ones that I know would not let me down. There are still teams that did let me down, but these are the teams that never let me down, and so this is what we get. In addition to being a possible Offensive Player of the Year, or dare I say MVP, despite missing 4 games, Andrew Q goes from Georgia to Colorado and has been balling. That's not a pun intended on the last name. He's been excellent. He's also been excellent with the fits. I mean, that is Colorado colors. Fantastic job by you, sir. The nice sneakers with the black on the top is a nice touch as well. Andrew Q, all business all the time, even though it's a little bit casual. Next up, Joe Nardella, right before the Firewolves got their haul kicked. Nardella was looking spiffy. If you can't see that, yes, sir. Very slight pinstripes. Very good, sir, for Joey Nards. Nards. All right. Buffalo Bills, they never let me down. Now, this week, the Fits let me down a little bit, but Dane Smith did it again. Now, Dane Smith has not won it in a little bit. I know in the first 2 years we've done this, for those of you that are new to the show, I take the guys who won it the most for me, and then I give the fans the opportunity to vote for their representative. Dane Smith has been said representative for Buffalo 2 years in a row. And good for them with the win, whatever that is. Yeah, those people. Metro Roberts Reality. Oh, Western New York. There we go. Metro Roberts. If you want to follow them, you don't. Free advertising. Great wrapping up presented by Trojan. You're welcome. It's just a running joke. Dane Smith, nothing special here, but there's so I'm going to do it. I know one time I got in trouble for calling Dane Smith, calling Tyson Bell wearing homeless casual. It feels like to me, Dane Smith was like 70% done with a just bum look, and it says, you know what? I'm going to pop the collar like Josh Byrne, and I'm going to throw on these sockless shoes or loafers or whatever. Again, it looks like he was this close to looking like the rest of us and say, you know what? Screw it. This is what we get. That's what we got here. All right, final player. And I want to apologize first here to Mitch Jones because, buddy, you look fantastic. Come on. Believe it or not, and this is not a joke, it has to be said. Tyler Hammer Jackson is actually not part of Midget Kiss. Now, I could be wrong on that, but just because you're factually the shortest guy in the National Lacrosse League does not mean you are part of Mini Kiss, all right? I was made for... First of all, why would you... Okay. Tyler Hammer Jackson, you do a great job with loading. Can someone explain to me why you are wearing Kiss... what's the word? Kiss makeup stuff here, or bravado, and this is this. What kind of ball knowledge do you have, guys? This should never be in the same frame. That song with those looks, it doesn't make sense. But you guys also know me. When you dress for the occasion, when you dress for the theme, I would have loved if Joe Resiterance or someone else on the Philadelphia Wings dressed up as the Taylor Swift band. That was bad. But we'll take the Kiss. We'll take it. Not only that, though. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. Full disclosure, because I know some broadcasters are going to look at this and be very upset. Ashley Docking was actually going to be the winner here. But I feel like, first of all, it's a lot of work to look at for myself. Also, I just do it for play-by-play and analyst. So Ashley, You looked the best this week with I think the silk was like the soft pink was good. But I have to choose between Mackie and Pats. Now, I believe it was a Brendan McDaniels of the Rochester broadcast had a nice shirt tie combo, but it was down to these two. Coming up on 60 Minutes. Could Pat Gregoire lose his reign as the best dressed broadcaster? Tonight on CBS after the game. You know what? It's Mackie Jenner. And I'm going to tell you why. Bam. Now, I'm going to, much like with the players, we try to go neck down. So, Mackie, while you are by default being a lady, probably the most attractive of the broadcasters, I think the broadcasters need to understand if Mackie does this more than 2 times a year in the future, they're in shambles. Especially if you're going to throw on the white blouse/shirt underneath the sweet pink suit and then accentuate that with the white high heels. Come on. I know women usually are more color coordinated and stuff. I know Pat's been great, and we've seen some awesome looking folks. But Mackie Jenner is not just on a go trajectory in the broadcast booth. She's on a go trajectory with fresh fits. Before that gets any weirder or people cancel me anymore, that's the end of fresh fits. Woo! We made it through. Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you guys so much for the comments and the views, as always. I love this league, and I honestly, I'm happy we're past the Rylan Hartley thing. I think people wanted the Elijah Gash hit to be more important of a conversation than it was. I was so exhausted with the Rylan Hartley thing, I didn't even make it a topic this week. I just said, hey, we might see emphasis on the defenseless receiver rule kind of thing. So, that being said, I'm done with it. I'm happy. It seems the people are. I am enjoying all the conversation the NLL's been getting, for better or worse. It's been nice, but we're not done yet. Long road ahead. Ryan Ballantyne said, this is where I learned that Mike didn't want it. Oh, wow. As Kevin. Okay. Well, full disclosure, once I saw the Mackie look, I was pretty much sold. But I will do you one favor here, and after the show, I will check that. I might do a reaction video on social media, Mr. Ballantyne, because you've got me a little bit. You got me a little bit intrigued there. So the antennas, not the devil horns, the antennas have been risen, if you will. Thanks so much for watching today's show. Remember that yesterday, Kai the goalie got to crash the show as a surprise guest and told Pat Gregoire how good the Georgia Swarm really are. Tomorrow we'll have power rankings and more. You've been watching Daily Dive. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. North American Talk Radio on YouTube. Bye.